Movie Hunger, a Thai thriller on Netflix. It tells the story of Aoi, a young woman with a humble background who develops her cooking skills and aspires to be extraordinary. Along the way, she works with Chef Paul, who is obstinate but dedicated. Wondering if Aoi succeeds or succumbs to the demands of her new job. Here's everything you need to know about the conclusion of Hunger movie. Spoiler alert. In Hunger movie, there's a young woman named Aoi who works as a cook at her family's noodle shop. Her father is old and she has two younger sisters to take care of, including paying for her sister's education. Chef Paul Taylor is in charge of a group of skilled cooks that serve Thailand's elite citizens. One day, a member of Chef Paul's staff Tone visits Aoi's noodle shop and is impressed by Aoi's talent, so invited her to Hungary for a tryout. She is selected to replace a team member who was recently fired. During her first assignment, Aoi struggles to fry pork and is given an ultimatum by her boss. However, she spends the night in the kitchen perfecting the dish, earning her place among the elite chefs. At a fancy catering event, Aoi received applause from affluent guests for her exceptional pork frying abilities. Business magnate Mr. Tooze offered his assistance to Aoi after giving her his card. Meanwhile, Chef Paul criticized Aoi, implying that she had no other cooking skills aside from frying. Nevertheless, Aoi's relationship with Tone, a fellow chef, grew stronger, and Tone helped her to enhance her culinary techniques. Mrs. Dang replaced a staff member who was caught stealing important kitchen items in Chef Paul's team. However, things took a turn for the worse when she ended up stabbing Chef Paul in the stomach, causing him to be hospitalized. When Aoi visited Chef Paul at the hospital, she discovered that his cooking philosophy was centered around using hunger and drive to become a skilled chef. Later, Chef Paul's team joined a wealthy client on a hunting trip, where the client hunted an endangered bird and asked Chef Paul to cook it. Aoi refused to cook the bird because it was illegal to hunt, but Chef Paul criticized her for being too moralistic. He argued that success sometimes requires one to compromise their principles. This made Aoi realize that Chef Paul's pursuit of success had gone too far, so she decided to quit her job. Aoi sought help from Mr. Tooze, who invested in her and helped her open her own high-end restaurant. Despite facing challenges, Aoi persevered and became a renowned chef, posing a threat to Chef Paul's fame. However, her success caused her to distance herself from Tone and her family, and she became paranoid. Aoi's former boss told her about a high-end event they would be competing in, making her aware that her relentless pursuit of perfection had negatively affected her personal life. Despite this realization, Aoi remained steadfast in her determination to become a successful chef. In the film's climax, Chef Paul and Aoi find out they will be catering at a wealthy socialite's birthday party. Aoi is hopeful that the event will help her succeed with Mr. Too's support, but she later discovers that she will be competing against Chef Paul. Despite displaying her talent and personality while cooking for the elite guests, Chef Paul's experience quickly proves superior to Aoi's efforts. In a pivotal moment, Aoi realizes that she needs to go back to her roots to win the competition against Chef Paul. She prepares crybaby noodles, a recipe from her family, and shares the story behind the dish with the guests. Despite her efforts, Chef Paul manages to impress the guests once again. However, his victory is short-lived as he is arrested by the police for cooking illegal meat, which was captured on video and shared by Tone with Mr. Tooze. In the end, Chef Paul faces the consequences of his actions, and Aoi is disappointed that she did not win the contest based on her culinary skills alone. Aoi and Chef Paul have opposing views on cooking. Chef Paul is motivated by his ambition, while Aoi values the morals and beliefs instilled in her by her family. As a result, Aoi finds it challenging to showcase the significance of her cooking skills and dedication, as external factors and manipulation often come into play. Although Chef Paul faces setbacks, the conclusion of the story suggests that Aoi will never be able to succeed in the cutthroat culinary industry because her principles will always hold her back. In the closing scene of the movie, Aoi discovers the true nature of Mr. Tooze and Tone's actions and their disregard for morality in pursuit of success. Disillusioned with the cutthroat nature of the culinary world, she decides to leave Flame and return to her family's noodle store. Despite not achieving her dream of becoming a successful chef, Aoi finds fulfillment in preserving her family's traditions and legacy. In the end, Aoi realizes that she has the skills to improve her family's noodle business and decides to use them to expand the company. Driven by her love for her family and cooking, she finds joy in her work once again.